The Nelson Brothers, the making of Migrant Tales. As soon as the Nelson Brothers started playing the guitar, we began to write our own songs, under the influence of Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, Tom Waits, John Martin. We often think of ourselves as a singer-songwriter, although there are two of us. Generally, we tend to write separately, and then come together to edit the resulting song. Steve tends to rework or rewrite the lyric, and Simon rework or recompose the music, but there's a lot of crossover. Migrant Tales is our fourth studio album. It's not quite a concept album, but has a loose theme running throughout. The songs are about the Irish diaspora, Irish people and their descendants who live outside of Ireland, hence the title Migrant Tales. And that's why the Nelson Brothers' own ancestry is foremost. We grew up in Stafford in the English Midlands, but our roots go back to Ireland. Our great-great-grandparents, Patrick and Catherine Corcoran, came from Tiberheen Parish, 6 miles north of Castlereagh in County Roscommon. They survived the immediate impact of the famine, but moved to Stafford in the 1850s. Our maternal great-grandfather, Bartholomew Corcoran, was a plumber, glazier and painter. Historian John Herson from Liverpool John Moores University wrote a book, Divergent Paths, Irish Families in Victorian Stafford. He said Corcoran was the first Irish Catholic to be elected to Stafford Borough Council. He was the trailblazer, and he deserves recognition for that fact alone. In his book, Herson says, Bartholomew and Anne Corcoran had 5 children, but Anne died in 1895. There seems little doubt that the marriage could have been conventionally dutiful and apparently successful, but a death at the early age of 52 shattered the family. Bartholomew expressed his grief publicly by donating the Stations of the Cross to the new St Patrick's Church as a memorial to his wife. But Bartholomew had a shock in store for his fellow parishioners and townspeople. He was now an old man in a hurry. On the 28th of January 1897, he arrived at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Blackpool and got married again. His new wife was Beatrice Benton. She was 21 years old, 41 years younger than her husband. The couple had sneaked off to Blackpool to avoid the embarrassment of a ceremony in Stafford, and it must have created quite a scandal. The apparently respectable public figure had married a woman from a pretty humble background. Whatever the age and social disparity between the couple, the marriage put new life into Bartholomew. He was still active in politics and local society, but between 1898 and 1906 he fathered 6 children with Beatrice, although only 3 survived infancy. Unlike their stepbrothers and sisters, members of this branch of the Corcoran family were to remain in Stafford throughout the 20th century, and that includes our grandfather, Patrick Corcoran. Some of our wanderlust no doubt sprang from our ancestry, and we headed west. Like many of those early travellers, our first port of call was Boston, Massachusetts. We explored the city on foot, purchased guitars, a small sound system and a car, and headed north to New Hampshire. Since that first trip, we've explored, gigged, written and recorded in New York, Tennessee, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Colorado, Maryland, Connecticut and the Florida Keys. Several of Bartholomew Corcoran's relatives emigrated to the USA. The song Billy Corcoran is the imagined journey of one of them. Migrant Tales was produced by Wal Coughlin and the Nelson Brothers. Steve Nelson sings lead vocal, plays banjo, acoustic guitar and octave mandola. Simon Nelson sings backing vocals and plays guitar, dobro, mandolin. Wal Coughlin has played bass for Cerys Matthews, Gary Newman and Shakin' Stevens. I first met Wal while playing the South London pub scene with the Toby Burke Band. He's an amazing bass player who just locks the groove down. He reminds me of a quote from the guitar legend Steve Cropper. I've been a metronome all my life. If I set the groove, it ain't gonna go nowhere. He also did some gigs with the Nelson Brothers Band at around that time. We sort of lost touch, but a couple of years ago, while playing at the Isle of Wight Festival, we bumped into him backstage. He was playing with the excellent Cerys Matthews. He was the obvious choice for the new album. Wal also has a recording facility, Bridge Row Studios in South Wales, and we headed over there to record. Jim Russell played drums, James played with the Human League, Bob Geldof and Slim Chance. Wal had recently recorded with Jim and recommended him as drummer for our project. Our good friend Nick Lacey plays keyboards, accordion, penny whistle. I first heard Nick playing on an album that I was also playing on, although we didn't actually meet on that session. He plays these fractured, unusual chord forms that are always tasteful, but also takes you by surprise. I found out from the producer who the keyboard player was, and since then we've become great friends and done many gigs and recording sessions together. Guest fiddle players on the album are the excellent Ben Gunnery and Mark Elton. Lorraine King sings backing vocals and the co-lead on My Love and I. The songs are all by the Nelson Brothers. Billy Corcoran and Auburn Girl are co-writes with our friend Steve Booker, notable for writing Mercy for Duffy. Dark in the Heart is a co-writer with our former publisher Robert John Jones. The legendary Al Perkins plays wonderful pedal steel. We were aware of Al particularly from his work with Stephen Still's band Manassas, but he's played with everyone in Nashville. Take a look at his discography on alperkinsmusic.com. We hooked up with the Nashville studio via Skype while Al laid down his sublime parts. Journalist Nick Dalton describes the Nelson Brothers' music. It's best defined as roots music with many eclectic touches, where you're as likely to hear a bouzouki as a bass guitar, yet where the songs are always central to proceedings. And our friend Elizabeth McGovern said, the music and the voice and the lyrics all work together to convey a bittersweet, sad optimism that I find so appealing. Romantic without being remotely saccharine and refreshingly grown up.